What do you think happened? Why do you think your daughter, Casey, allowed her defense to portray you as the monster in this? So your belief is that Kaylee was given some medication?
That's what I believe, yes.
I truly believe there was someone else at the house.
She doesn't need to exist anymore as far as I'm concerned.
Coming up next.
Who could ever forget the name Casey Anthony? She's the woman believed to have gotten away with the murder of her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. The public has labeled her the most hated mom in America. Now, today, in a daytime exclusive interview, Casey's parents, George and Cindy Anthony, are here opening up like never before for the very first time in front of a studio audience, addressing the rumors surrounding Kaylee's death and revealing the truth about the daughter they have famously called a bad seed.
It's been called the social media trial of the century. And Casey Anthony, the most notorious and hated mother in modern memory, accused of murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. On July 15, 2008, Casey's own mother called police to report her granddaughter had been missing for 31 days.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where? The babysitter took her months ago that my daughter's been looking for. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Kaylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Casey Anthony was arrested and charged with child neglect the next day, and initially claimed Kaylee was abducted by a nanny. Then later, that the toddler had drowned in her grandparents' pool. Casey Anthony would then be charged and tried for first-degree murder. 5 months after her initial arrest, authorities announced remains identified as Kaylee Anthony had been found in a wooded area near the family home. After just 33 days in court, the jury returned a stunning verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Anthony would be sentenced to just 4 years in prison for lying to authorities, and is now a free woman. But many believe she may have gotten away with murder, leaving her grieving parents conflicted in their loss of their beloved granddaughter Kaylee and their complicated feelings about their daughter Casey's freedom.
Just to remind our audience, Casey Anthony has been acquitted of Kaylee's murder and is no longer a person of interest in her daughter's death, although the nation was shocked when Casey Anthony walked free in 2011. Her parents, George and Cindy Anthony, are here now in a daytime exclusive interview. What were your reactions as her parents when you heard that verdict, not guilty?
Well, I personally was besides myself. I was very shocked at it because I really believe still to this day that Casey is responsible for Kaylee not being here with us, and I think she should serve some time for that.
Cindy, were you surprised by the verdict?
I was relieved. If it was an accident or something, that the only way that Kaylee would truly have justice would be if her mom was set free.
So, George, your daughter's attorney during the trial, Jose Baez, targeted you. And I just wrote down some of the things he said, quite a bit. He said you sexually abused Casey when she was 8 years old. He claimed that you were the one who actually found Kaylee. And that must have been hurtful. What do you think about that? And why do you think your daughter, Casey, allowed her defense to portray you as the monster in this?
I know deep in my heart I never did anything to my daughter, and at any age at all. My gosh, her and I had a great relationship. We were buddies doing things growing up, and it hurt me to the core to be blamed for something that I didn't do.
Cindy, throughout the trial, it became evident that your daughter, Casey, had lied on several occasions.
Mm-hmm.
She lied, and I just wrote down a couple of these because there are quite a few.
Right.
She lied to police about her place of employment. She lied to you for a month prior to your calling 911 about Kaylee's whereabouts, saying she was at SeaWorld, Disney World,
right.
Universal Studios, all these wonderful places. But we know, experts now know that your granddaughter was already dead
Right.
when Casey was lying to you about her location. What do you think was behind your daughter's lies?
Well, 2 weeks prior to the trial, Jose brought me into his office and he goes, I've got to tell you, Casey wants you to know before trial what really happened to Kaylee. And that's when he told me that, Kaylee had drowned in the pool and that Casey had panicked. And I asked him, I said, what the heck? And she goes, she just didn't think you would ever forgive her. And I said, but she thinks this way was better? And he goes, what I have to do is explain away those last 31 days. And he said, I'm gonna have to throw someone under the bus. And he said that George was gonna be the one that was gonna take it.
So you were told by Casey's attorney that she had already told them what really happened.
Yes.
Which in her world was that her daughter had died by accident.
I forget his exact words, but he said she panicked. When she found Kaylee in the pool and she couldn't resuscitate her, she had panicked. And she didn't know how to, didn't know how to explain it. At that time, I didn't know she was having seizures chronically. So I didn't know if something had happened. She blacked out and didn't know. She couldn't explain it. So I'm thinking of all these different things.
Was she ever on medications for her seizures?
No. What I've come to understand since she's been out, I've been finally able to talk to her, that she gets in stress-induced seizures. I can't remember exactly what they call them, but I guess there is some stress.
Pseudo seizures.
Yes. So
Seizures.
that's what she has.
Did she ever have brain trauma, anything else that would have caused some of these behavioral changes that you're describing?
No, there was no evidence.
So if there's no medical explanation, and that's what I'm looking for, why her personality, why her behavior might have changed, then I'm left believing that maybe she was dishonest as a child as well.
I remember Casey growing up. I mean, she would always tell a good story. I mean, I remember, I always told her, I said, you'd be good to be working at Disney or have these little fantasies in your world that you can really talk and you can really engage people and really just tell this story that's so enlightening. But
so this was out of character.
Oh, it was totally out of character for her.
So as a grandfather, I can only imagine how difficult it is. I see it in your eyes as you describe what it was like to be with a little 2-year-old version
Oh, yeah.
of what would have been a much bigger girl right now.
Till this day, I still hold myself responsible for not finding Kaylee.
You've attempted to take your own life.
I wanted to be with her. She meant the world to me.
And you left a note. May I read that?
Yes.
We're back with a daytime exclusive interview. Casey Anthony's parents, George and Cindy, are here. They're opening up about the tragic loss of their 2-year-old granddaughter, Kaylee. Let me shift gears and talk about your health. Living in the public eye can be strenuous, even if you don't have this all going on. Cindy, how's your health suffered?
Oh, boy. I turned 50 the week before Kaylee died. I started gaining weight, my blood pressure started going up. It was still what I considered being controlled. And one day I went into the office and I said, I just feel like crap. My medicine's not helping, I just feel like crap. Do we need to change my antidepressant or what? I've always had headaches, so I ignored them. And my nephrologist says, don't ignore a headache 90% of the time, it's gonna be your blood pressure.
Well, it can kill you too, which is...
Exactly, and I've been stroke level several times where they've been put me on bed rest.
You've been stroke level blood pressure?
Yes.
That high, that dangerous. And that's the silent killer. But George, in your case, it's not just a silent problem. If it's okay, you've attempted to take your own life.
Yes.
And you left a note. May I read that?
Yes.
Oh, man.
You okay, Cindy?
Yeah, I finally read it.
I want to hold her again. I miss her. I will always love us. I love you, Cynthia Marie, Kaylee. Here I come.
Till this day, I still hold myself responsible for not finding Kaylee. I do. She meant the world to me. Seeing her growing up, she was my sunshine. She was almost like a reincarnation of my own daughter. Months and months and months of looking for her. I put 60,000 miles on this vehicle of mine, driving any and everywhere I could go find her. Driving a big sign, whatever I could to find, just any and everything that I did. I felt, what am I doing so wrong? How come I can't find my own granddaughter? And I just didn't want to be around anymore. I wanted to be with her. She meant the world to me. And I knew Cindy would be okay. I know my son was strong. I didn't even think about Casey anymore because I blocked her completely out of my mind. Because, like I said at the beginning, she's responsible for Kaylee not being here. I believe that in my heart. I just told myself, you know, I gotta go join her. I gotta go be with her.
How would you try to commit suicide?
I took almost a complete bottle of these 60 pills of Paxil. I can't remember the milligrams of it. I took some other muscle relaxers and stuff. Matter of fact, I took some of her things with me. And I just kept on driving. I drove to Daytona Beach, Florida, and found a place that sort of touched me. It was called Hawaiian Hotel. When I checked in, I started taking some of the pills. I drank a bunch of beer. I figured, well, if I get myself so drunk and take all these pills at a certain amount of time, I'll gradually fall asleep and not wake up. The thing I really think saved me was because I was hungry. I went and got myself a sandwich, and that's been criticized. Well, George, why'd you go get a sandwich? I just did. Whenever you're so depressed, when you're at that end of the road, and I'm thinking anyone that's out there that has been there, you can relate to what I was going through. I felt responsible. I felt I failed. I still feel like that, but I'm stronger today because of therapy, stronger because of her sticking behind me.
I want to ask a question about something I heard from one of my producers.
Okay.
In one of your conversations, George, you told my team that you actually think you've seen Kaylee. You've seen her ghost. What exactly have you witnessed?
It was about 5.5, maybe 6 months after we'd got the news about Kaylee's body. I got woke up 2-something in the morning, and just a little poke on my forehead. And I woke up, and it was Kaylee standing right there on the side of my bed. Jojo up, Jojo up. She called me Jojo instead of Grandpa or George. And I just got out of bed. I'm like, okay. And I walked down the hallway with her, and as soon as she got close to her bedroom at the time, she started skipping. Happy as happy could be. I went down and I sat in the middle of her room. She went around and touched all of her toys. She was just so excitingly happy. It lasted for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And I really didn't say too much. I just was so grateful to see her. And all of a sudden she just says, bye-bye, Jojo, see you soon. She was gone. I didn't tell Cindy for a long time because I didn't want her to think that I had lost my mind or anything like that. Still to this day, I can just close my eyes and love that moment. Cindy's never had that. Some people have maybe had that, and that's an experience when you talk about it, they're like, oh, something's wrong with this person, something's going on, but I know what happened to me, and I'm thankful for that moment.
Can I ask you about your relationship with your daughter, with Casey? Do you talk to her much?
I want the answers to why Kaylee's no longer with us, why she victimized her family.
You wanted to hug her, but you wanted to strangle her at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to squeeze her till she would tell me what the truth is.
Do you love your daughter? We're back with Casey Anthony's parents, George and Cindy. So how was the stress of losing Kaylee, your beautiful granddaughter, taking a toll on your marriage?
Oh, it did. I mean, her and I are always going to not agree on everything. There's certain things we will agree upon, how much we loved Kaylee, how much we still love our daughter, even though that love gets changed every once in a while. But her and I have been through a heck of a lot. But we've stuck together, and we've had our moments that I'll lose my self-control, and I know She's more controlling than I am sometimes, but
Controlling or controlled?
well, controlling our emotions.
We've been married for 37 years. We've been together for over 38 years. In fact, our anniversary for 38 years will be in March, and we've known each other, it'll be 39 years in December.
Do you find your path, and it's a remarkable testimony, that you can get 38 years with anybody these days.
Absolutely.
That's true.
And especially being in the spotlight. But there are places, obviously, where this has tugged at you. Can I ask you about your relationship with your daughter, with Casey? Do you talk to her much?
It was several months after she was released before I had the first conversation with her. And then it was a full year before I spoke to her again. And 2 years ago, I actually got to see her. In fact, she had gotten to see George on 2 occasions.
It was hard.
How long ago was this?
A year and a half ago.
It's about a year and a half, yes.
And then she...
And why was that hard for you, George?
Because I built up anger with her. I want the answers to why Kaylee's no longer with us, why she victimized her family, why she ultimately victimized Kaylee, what she's done to her mom, what she's done to me, her brother, and other people that loved her and cared so much for her. I still had this anger about her.
You wanted to hug her, but you wanted to strangle her at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to squeeze her till she would tell me what the truth is.
Yeah.
And I think that lasted about 15 minutes the very first time.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be in her presence. Then another time, she also was at our house. I remember coming in, and you guys were going through photos. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking, why are you doing this now? Well, I want her to have some of these things. Some of these things have Kaylee in them. And I'm like, okay. Her and I had a stern discussion after that.
But you invited her to dinner.
How did that stern discussion go?
I was a little boisterous. I raised my voice and wanted to know
he
why.
Didn't want me to give
I don't
things
want
away
no more.
to
I don't want no
Casey.
more for Kaylee things leaving our house. That stuff belongs to us. That's our house.
Do you love your daughter?
I do love my daughter, but I don't like what she's done to us. What she did to Kaylee, what she's done to her mom, to me, her brother. I don't like what she's done to completely disconnect this family who was always very close. I mean, there's only so many of us in our family, and right now we're not whole anymore.
Do you like her?
No, I don't like her. I mean, I love her because she's my daughter, and I can think about all the good things that we did together growing up, teaching her how to drive, shoot a basketball, change a tire, change the oil, go to track meets, go to volleyball meets. I'm thinking of all the things that we did together that I enjoyed doing with her, but I don't like her anymore. I don't like what she represents. I don't like that she's got a free will to do anything she wants to do anymore, which might be a controversy here, but I hope she can be successful someday. I would love her to be able to change somebody's life for the better and be a better person herself, but am I going to ever see that? No. I'll never walk her down the aisle. I think any father gets joy and excitement and tears when they know they can walk their daughter ultimately down the aisle for sometimes she's going to get married. I'll never have that. I never got a chance to see her go to photography school. I never got a chance to see her potential being used. She's a very bright young lady, very, very bright, but she failed that potential inside of her.
There's a source who's told People magazine that she's trying to have a child. What do you think about that? How would you feel if you found out that she's open to having a child? That's what this source is saying. How do you feel about her getting pregnant again?
When I had Kaylee the very first time, I was so excited. I was off the charts excited. I was 3 feet off the ground for days, weeks, even some years. But knowing now that she could potentially possibly be a mom again, I hope she does better this time around than what she did last time.
Casey watches this interview. I suspect she will. What would you want to say to her? What does she need to know from you, her dad?
I hope whatever life she has left, that she makes something positive happen in her life. If she is granted a a chance again to have another child. I hope the child is strong, grows up to be a worthwhile part of society. And the person that she has the child with, I hope they are going to love her and that child immensely. Would I ever be part of that child's life? I don't think so. Because Casey and I right now, it's like oil and water, you know, one of us is floating, one of us are sinking or something. We're not connected anymore, and that hurts. I wish I could be part of her life, but I would never feel comfortable around her. I can't trust her. I can't trust her, the things that she's going to say out there, and I know she's given some other interviews that she said she was never going to do, and things she said and done, it's wrong. She needs to just not be here anymore.
What do you mean not be here anymore?
She doesn't need to exist anymore, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's kind of mean.
Well, you know what? That's just.
Yeah, it's weird because for years he has said to me, "I wish I could have a relationship with Casey again."
Yeah, I did. But
the
I
last
can't.
time we saw Casey, I went out into the garage and I said, "I'm really sorry that she's still here." And he goes, "Well, she's staying for dinner." I said, "She wasn't planning on it." He goes, "Well, ask her." So there's a difference here. He just doesn't want to own up to the fact that he's still.
I've tried.
I think what it is because he was accused of such a heinous thing against against her, that it has hurt him so hard. I think it's this defense mechanism to want to push her away. But I know deep down I know he loves that girl a lot. And the thing of it is, Kaylee was the spitting image of Casey when she was little. Yeah, and I know that's part of why he loved Kaylee so much, because I know that's me too. So it was like having her all over again, because she was such a joy as a child herself. But I know deep down, if something happened, I know he would be upset. I really don't think you really mean that she shouldn't be here. I think you're just still hurt over the fact, and those scars have run very deep. The accusations have run very deep. Now, most people don't believe it, thankfully. But even if one person did, it's kind of, it hurts.
George, why do you think Casey's never come forward and said that wasn't true?
I don't know. I mean, if she would, that would be great. Would that make me feel any better? I'm sure it would. But then again, I think she's still thinking that if she says anything that she knows would be correct, would people believe her? Because she has lied so much about so many things to so many people. Would people believe her finally? I've said it before. If she's come in front of me and say, "Dad, this is what really happened," I don't know if I personally would believe her. Maybe I would. Maybe I'd be I would just fall down on my knees and cry, or what. I don't know how I would feel at that moment.
Why don't you ask her now?
I just wish she would come forward. She would want to talk to me, just me and her. Someone could be on the sidelines watching what's going on, but at least give her and I a chance to just sit down and talk. I know the couple times when she was around us and I got a chance to put my arms around her, like you says, I wanted to squeeze her, but then again, it felt good.
Oh, good to hug her.
It felt good to hug her for a few seconds, for a minute or two. And I know when she left, my heart was very heavy, but then again, that mechanism to get these shields put up in front of me, because I didn't want to deal with her anymore. I'm glad to see her, but then I'm also glad to see her go. I don't know, anyone could say they could just put it all aside, forget about it. I wish they could tell me the formula to that.
If you were to be with her right now, is the first thing that you'd ask for is honesty about these abuse allegations? Or for her to own up to what really happened to your granddaughter?
I can see where Casey would panic and say, "Oh my God, Mom's going to kill me. Why weren't you, watching her?" But I know accidents happen.
George, what do you think happened? We're back with Casey Anthony's parents, George and Cindy. So if you were to be with her right now, she was sitting where I'm sitting, is the first thing that you'd ask for is honesty about these abuse allegations? Would that be the first thing you'd ask her to tell you? Or for her to own up to what really happened to your granddaughter?
I don't know how many questions I would ask her. I don't know how many times she could go over and over before I might believe her. I mean, I would hope she'd want to meet with me, but I don't think she will. As a matter of fact, a few different times I've asked you, do you have her number? I wanted to call her more.
Well, you did. He did take her number out of my phone and did try calling her a couple times, and they did speak.
And it was very abusive. It was the wording for the 5 minutes I talked to her was not that good.
Abusive
Well, that was
in what way?
prior to.
She called me a lot of threatening names, used a lot of these words that I don't want to repeat on TV, but the F this and F that, and Dad, this happened and this is the way it is. And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be this way. Talk to me. What's going on? I want to get to the bottom of what's going on in her life and what Kaylee's life was about. And
Why do you think she's angry at you?
I don't know.
Cindy, what do you think happened?
What, as far as the day Kaylee died?
Yes.
I truly believe there was someone else at the house. I truly believe there was someone there that Casey got distracted. Either they were making out or something, or Casey had fallen asleep, or Casey had had a seizure. There was some distraction. I believe Kaylee got in the pool, and I believe Kaylee drowned. I believe Kaylee, because she was used to always having, water safety vest, and I blame myself for not teaching her to jump in and letting her come back up. I probably should have done that, but I always let her jump to me, and I got her, and I'd let her swim around. But she was still only 2. She wasn't quite 3 yet. I mean, we were still working on letting her go without her vest and things like that. So I think, I believe that really would make sense. And watching.
And then your daughter panicked.
Yeah, I can see where Casey would panic and say, oh my God, Mom's gonna kill me, and literally I would probably be all over her. And maybe I would have been angry. Why weren't you, watching her? But I know accidents happen.
George, what do you think happened?
I can remember right after Kaylee was born, we encouraged Casey to go out and spend more time with her friends, to go out and just have some fun. We'd take care of Kaylee because Kaylee was there with us. We never deprived her of going anywhere. We'd always said we'd take care of her. When the sheriff's department showed me different things of their investigation, everything came into play in my mind that Kaylee was given something to go to sleep. And I still
But they never
believe.
produced any
but
medicine
this
or
is all
anything.
conjecture anyway.
Right.
But so your belief is that that Kaylee was given some medication.
That's what I believe. Yes.
And then she overdosed on that medication.
That's what I believe. That's what I was formulated, or that was the investigation going in the direction it was going in.
And when you speak to your daughter, if she were to come clean with you about what she says happens, would it open your heart towards her?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have something with her. I mean, I know she's moving on through life. I understand that she is seeing someone. They're very involved, which is great. I'm glad for her. But
when I started talking about this interview in my own family, and as a grandfather, but with my team here, I was laser focused on what happened to Kaylee. I've learned that Casey also destroyed both of you.
Oh, yeah.
And herself, when she took that little girl down whatever path they ended up going down. And I wish you the best in healing. I think, like the rest of America, we want closure for you. This clearly isn't it. And I wish you the best of luck pursuing that as well.
thank you.
God bless you both.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Is there a link between antiperspirants and Alzheimer's? We're investigating. Stay with us. We're investigating the truth about antiperspirants and Alzheimer's, and addressing your fears that there is aluminum in here, and it could lead to memory loss later on in life.
You apply it every day, antiperspirant. But could it be affecting your brain? The headlines have been swirling with news that an ingredient in your everyday deodorant could be causing cognitive delay later in life. Some recent research has found elevated levels of aluminum in the brain tissue of people with dementia. So, what is metal doing in our antiperspirant anyways? And does it get into our bodies? This research has consumers worried.
I keep hearing about aluminum and how a buildup in the body, especially in the brain, can cause a lot of health problems. So I'm wondering if I should be concerned.
Kind of really freaking out about it. I've been looking for alternatives to not, be so stinky. But I don't know, is it true? Is it false?
People have even taken to making their own antiperspirants at home. But these alternatives may not be as effective at combating excess perspiration and odor. So, is it time to can your antiperspirant? Today, we're sweating out the truth.
We have three friends who all have very strong feelings about how they keep their sweat at bay. Gina, we're going to start with you. You say you cannot do anything without your antiperspirant.
Nope, not at all. I'm a professional bodybuilder.
I can tell
Check
by
out my guns.
Oh my goodness. Let's try this. Oh, they're much bigger than mine. Oh, it's intimidating.
So I'm very active and I care about my parents. And maybe one day I'll meet my husband in the gym.
That's right, you might. But you want the antiperspirant to be dry at that moment.
Yes,
Jessica says you don't use deodorant, you use spray-on deodorant.
Yes, I do. I use spray-on because I'm very active. So I feel like the spray-on is very convenient for me. Just spray it on and my mind is at peace.
Right, but it's a spray-on deodorant you're using, not an antiperspirant.
No, it's a spray-on deodorant.
Deodorant, okay.
Yes.
Mindy, you switched to an all-natural approach.
That I did. So back in 2009, 2010, I had a lot of health issues, one of which was melanoma. So I started looking into it. I started making my own, and then I used some local brands also that are just natural. But I love it. It works really well, and I don't have to worry about my overall health.
Goodness. We have a whole potpourri here. I think it sort of describes what's happening in America. We got different camps, right? Everyone's in one of these different camps. So it's obvious people are divided. And like most consumer concerns, it starts with what we find on the internet. So to help tackle your concerns, I brought an expert dermatologist and author of The Beauty of Dirty Skin, Dr. Whitney Bowe. She's going to walk us through all things antiperspirant. And Dr. Lisa Genova, the neuroscientist who wrote Still Alice. That's a great book turned movie that touched so many. So, Dr. Genova, let's start with you. Why did people's concern over antiperspirants and Alzheimer's captivate us? Where did it come from?
Yeah, where did this start? So in the early 70s, a scientist found traces of aluminum in the brains of people who had Alzheimer's. And then a reporter found out about this and ran with it, told the world that aluminum causes Alzheimer's. And so for the past 50 years, scientists have been trying to find a link between aluminum and Alzheimer's.
So before we address specifically what's going on with aluminum and Alzheimer's and all that stuff, let's address the bigger issue, which is the difference between deodorants and antiperspirants. Dr. Bowe, explain to us very simply the difference.
Come over here with me.
Okay.
So I'll show you. So antiperspirants work by blocking the flow of sweat. So they actually keep you dry. Now there's a lot of different ingredients that are typically found in antiperspirants, but the one I want to call your attention to is aluminum, because it's the aluminum that actually plugs your sweat glands, and that's what keeps you dry. Now that's different from deodorant. So we'll walk over to deodorant. Now deodorants, they don't keep you dry. They don't help with wetness per se, but they do mask the unpleasant scent of body odors.
So I see the deodorants, I see the antiperspirants.
Right.
What's confusing to me is whether people should use one or the other. You argue they're doing it all wrong.
Well, most people, quite honestly, are using both. There are a lot of combination products out there with antiperspirants, deodorants in one. And honestly, that's overkill for most people. Most people do not need to be exposing their skin to all of these different ingredients every single day. So what I say is separate them out. Have an antiperspirant, have a deodorant, only use them when you need them. If you use an antiperspirant correctly, and the correct way to use an antiperspirant is actually to use it at night on dry skin before you go to bed. And most people find if they do it that way, you only have to use it a couple times a week. You don't even have to use it every day.
And when do you use a deodorant?
Deodorant you can use in the morning if you are headed out and it's okay to have wetness, but you don't want to smell.
Okay. So this aluminum issue here, right? The aluminum that we know is in a lot of these antiperspirants, most of them. How does it get into our body?
Well, actually, aluminum, very, very small amounts can penetrate through the skin. So if you're using a typical antiperspirant, 0.01% of that aluminum actually makes its way into your bloodstream. That's not really causing much concern.
Let me show you what Dr. Bo is talking about here. And we'll make a little bit of an animation with your sweat glands. So you have these things called apocrine glands. They release a thick substance. I will show it to you right here. And these glands, right, they release this thick material. It's filled with oily liquids and proteins and lipids. Then bacteria love these things, right? They love fats. They get on there and they begin to digest this away, and then they release their bad stuff, and that's what causes the odor. They're waste products, right? And sometimes the stain. Now, when you apply antiperspirant, right, you put it over your skin right there, that white stuff. It goes down into the pore, right, and it blocks up those pores so no sweating can occur, right, because it goes deep into the gland. But this is where some of that aluminum, not too much from what I'm hearing, some of it starts to escape and get away into our system. And that's what caused a lot of the rumors and still concerns some people today. And people have fears that covering over these pores, right, like this, may also trap the body's natural desire to get toxins out of the body. Is that something we have to worry about?
Sweating, it's kind of a myth that you can sweat out your toxins. You know, your liver, your kidneys are actually much more effective, as you know, at getting rid of toxins than sweating. Sweating is primarily just to help you with your body temperature so you don't overheat.
Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Bell.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we know that only a small amount of that aluminum gets into our bodies. Let's talk about what science says about the connection between aluminum and Alzheimer's. And for definitive answers, let's bring Dr. Lisa Jova into this conversation because you're an expert at this. What are researchers saying about aluminum?
I just want to make this clear after 50 years of a myth that there is no causal connection between aluminum and Alzheimer's. Look, this is the third most abundant element on Earth. We're surrounded by this stuff, and you either pee it out or it just doesn't even penetrate your body. So if you're concerned about Alzheimer's, and we all should be, forget about aluminum. Don't sweat your deodorant. There's a lot of other things that you actually should be concerned about and that you can actually do something about.
So when we come back, we're going to give you the 3 essential things you can be doing to protect your brain starting today. Stay with us.
The families of Drew Peterson, Aaron Hernandez, and Casey Anthony are here.
She doesn't need to exist anymore.
And Oz Alert, drug use in public bathrooms, even on baby changing tables. Tiffany Haddish opens up about growing up in foster care. Gather around the table for the debut of The Dish on Oz.
Food is going to really bring us together.
We're back with 3 essential things to do today that can protect your brain from Alzheimer's with my good friend, one of the world's best-known Alzheimer's researchers, Dr. Rudy Tanzi. So the first brain-protecting strategy, share it with everybody. These are so easy to do. You can do it right now.
Well, in a nutshell, load up your diet with antioxidants.
Antioxidants?
Yes.
Right, so walk us through a couple foods that have antioxidants that you like.
Any color, any berry or fruit with a lot of color, like blueberries, the blue in the blueberry is actually the chemical that protects your brain against the free radicals, so the antioxidants in the color. And the next one may really surprise you. And
it is?
It comes from grapes, red wine. So it turns out
now they're happy
that in red wine versus white wine, again, you have a lot of that chemical from the skin of the grape that makes it into the wine. That helps you. So in moderation, it's been shown that 1 glass of wine a day can help your brain and your heart. And what's good for your heart is good for your brain.
All right, now I'll drink to that. But in the meantime, I want to hear Dr. Richard Isaacson from the Alzheimer's Prevention Clinic at Weill Cornell. He's got the next essential thing you can do today that can protect your brain from Alzheimer's.
This one's my favorite, a mocha for your memory in the morning. Every morning when I get up, I put dark chocolate powder in my coffee. A little bit of this to my coffee in the morning increases blood flow to the brain, and it's a surefire way to hopefully forestall memory loss in the future. So the key, dark chocolate powder in your coffee, a mocha for your memory in the morning.
All right, it's trust but verify. So I'm going to add a little bit of what Dr. Isaacson said, the little cocoa in there. Have you tried this at home?
Yes, I've done it with chocolate nibs.
What's even better?
Yes,
right. No sugar in them?
Yep.
It tastes like what you'd expect. It's good.
It's pretty good.
And if it helps you remember to do it, it's even better.
Yeah, and you know that bitter taste says it's helping you even more because the darker the chocolate, the better it is.
The darker the chocolate?
Yes.
So I get wine and chocolate.
Yes.
Not bad. All right. Before the next essential thing you can do to reduce your risk of Alzheimer's, I got a little clue. What is it? A garbage truck? It says my wife is sending me a message to take out the garbage. Does taking out the garbage at home help with my brain?
Well, it's the garbage in your brain that you need to take out, and there's a way to do it. So it turns out that during sleep, right after you dream, or the REM sleep, you go into the deepest sleep. So you actually flush your brain of junk and debris every night after deep sleep. During deep sleep.
You guys, this is unbelievable. It's fabulous. To understand, I knew that sleeping better helps us remember more, but the thought that it might actually reduce Alzheimer's because it's basically our garbage collection system being allowed to work is stunning.
Yeah, in fact, during deep sleep, you consolidate your memories, but more importantly, you actually turn off those proteins that cause disease and you clean them out of the brain. I like to call it mental floss.
Oh, I like this. Yeah. Mental floss. Think of it that way, everybody. A great way, by the way, set your bedtime alarm to remind you when to go to bed. That's as important as your wake-up alarm. That way you'll get the mental floss sleep that you need. You can check out more information about Dr. Tanzi's book, The Healing Self. Very well-written book. Dr. Tanzi, thank you always, my friend. We'll be right back.
What do fast food sandwiches and yoga mats have in common?
There is this material in our bread.
We're slicing up the truth.
There's one kind of meat I don't want you eating if you can avoid it, period.
And an Oz investigation. Are those prepackaged sandwiches bacteria bombs?
We gained access into a food factory where these are made.
Plus, Alec Baldwin on surviving 60.
I had hernia surgery, Lyme disease, kidney stone. I got very bad insomnia.
All new Oz.
That's coming up tomorrow. Aaron Hernandez seemed to have it all until the 24-year-old NFL tight end's career came to an abrupt halt when he was arrested for murder. The world was shocked again when Hernandez committed suicide in his jail cell. On the next True Crime Tuesday, Aaron's brother Jonathan is here, speaking out like never before. When you did try to help your brother and allow him to be open with you, he reacted negatively. Did that surprise you?
Now, looking back, no, because of how negative my father made being, a gay man in our household. It was not acceptable. Again, when we were younger, my brother wasn't into sports. My dad was he was very sports driven, and my brother wasn't necessarily into sports, and he wanted to, pursue something different, and my dad made it very clear that that was not acceptable in this household. He called my uncle and said, listen, I don't want my son hanging out around your daughters because he's picking up these tendencies, which is making him look more feminine. And in this household, it's not acceptable.
This Tuesday, what drove Aaron Hernandez to murder his friend and then take his own life? Could repeated head trauma be to blame? It's a show no parent of an athlete can afford to miss. I'll see you next time.